Hi, this is Julie with Beadaholique, and today I'm going to show you how to make the multi-strand infinity bracelet, which is an exclusive kit through Beadaholique.com. So here I have a couple different color variations. I've got black with this nice antique pewter and some gunmetal findings. And you can see these are all three strands are attached to a tube clasp. And then I also have another color variation here, which is brown and blues. And on this one, it's kind of interesting because you can see that there's two sides to this faux leather that I'm using. So you can really choose which one you want to use as your front. And I chose the one which has a little bit more texture to it, but you can definitely use the other side if you like as well. So I'm going to show you how to actually make this bracelet from start to finish. So when you purchase the kit, what you're going to receive are these items here. So I've got a little tube of E6000 glue, which is a very strong industrial strength adhesive. I've got this blue wax cotton cord, which you're going to have actually a lot of leftover with. I've got a length of faux leather cord, and you are going to have leftover of this as well. I have an infinity symbol, a tube clasp with 3 rings on each side, 2 of these larger ribbon pinch crimp ends, 4 of the smaller little fold over crimp ends, and 6 jump rings. So you're going to get all of this in your kit, and it's going to be able to make this bracelet here. And of course, if you choose a different color, you'll get different colored findings and cords, but these are the base components. In terms of the tools you're going to need some tape, a pair of scissors, some type of really nice sharp cutting tool. I have a pair of flush cutters here. If you have a really nice sharp pointed scissors, that will work as well. You'll see what we're going to use these for later. And then I've got a couple pairs of chain nose pliers, a post-it note pad, or you just need any type of scrap paper really, and a scrap piece of wire, and this is going to be an applicator for your glue. A toothpick would work as well, and a ruler. To start, we're going to make the 2 braids on either end of this nice thicker interior bracelet strand. To do that, we're just going to actually do a simple braid. And to start, you're going to need to cut some cord. And for each braid, I want you to cut 12 inches of the blue cord, or whatever is your wax cotton cord color in your kit. So there's 1, 2, and 3. All right, so those are your 3 lengths for 1 braid. Go ahead, put all their ends together so they're even. I'm going to slide. Normally I do this on the edge of my desk, but I'm going to do it here on the table so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to put them down on my table and take some tape and put it over the ends so that they're secure. And now I'm just going to make a braid. So it's the same type, if you remember braiding hair perhaps, it's the same type of braid. So we're just going to do the right strand over the middle strand, the left strand over the new middle strand, the right one over the middle, the left over the middle, and you're just going to repeat this process. Try to keep your tension fairly uniform just so that your braid ends up looking pretty even. You don't have one section that's really loose and one section that's really tight. In this video tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make a 7.5 inch bracelet, which is considered a pretty standard bracelet size. Go ahead and modify the instructions accordingly for if you want a smaller, or if you want a shorter or a longer bracelet. The clasp and the jump rings on this bracelet are going to add about 3/4 of an inch. So for this strand here, I know I'm going to want it to be 6 3/4, so that when I add my clasp and jump ring, is going to be 7.5 inches. And I am braiding almost to the end of my table. Okay, so how much do I have here? Great, I have more than what I need, which is what I want. Actually, I'm just going to braid a little bit more. Okay, and I'm going to put some more tape over this end. You'll notice I'm not knotting my ends. I'm just putting tape over them, and you're going to see why. Taped my end. I'm going to pull this one off the table, tape it as well. Okay, so my braid is secure. I'm just going to tug on it ever so slightly, just so it's nice and uniform. And now I need to secure the ends. To do that, I'm going to take one of my little fold over ends and I'm going to place the 3 strands inside of it, just like so. Now, using my chain nose pliers, I'm just going to take one end and push it down over the cords. And then I'm going to go to the other end and do the exact same thing. There we go. That's going to hold it in there. You don't have a lot of wiggle room. You can put some extra glue in there if you want, but it's not needed. And now, this is where your sharp flush cutters, or if you have a really nice pointed sharp pair of scissors, come in handy. I'm just going to go right here. You can see, I'm just going to trim off the excess. There we go. So now for the other end, I want it to be 6 3/4 inches long, and I want to measure from the end of my braid right here. So 6 3/4 is going to take me to right here. So I'm going to go ahead, slide another fold over crimp, and I want the little ring at the end of this crimp to start where my finger was holding that mark, because that's going to be the end of the braid. I'm just going to push it in there. And you want to make sure that your ends are both facing the same direction. So I wouldn't want it to be like opposite or like that. But here you go. So kind of the rough side will be on the inside of the bracelet when you're done. I'm going to measure again just to make sure I did this right. And that is perfect. There's 6 3/4 from end to end. So now I'm going to go ahead, fold this over the same way, starting with just one side, and then the other side. There we go. Now I'll just trim it. Make sure when you're trimming this that you don't accidentally trim that ring off if you are using a pair of cutters. Just go slowly. There we go. So we have one strand ready to go. We're going to go ahead and make an identical second one. So I've made my second identical length of braided cord and attach the cord ends. So now I need to make the middle section. To do that, you're going to take your wide faux leather cord and you're going to measure this to be 6 3/4 inches. Remember, these are the measurements you want if you're making a 7.5 inch bracelet approximately. Adjust your lengths accordingly for more or less. So I've got that, and again, you got the two sides. I really like this rougher side for this particular design, but feel free to use the top. Now we need to go ahead and attach the infinity symbol, and what I really wanted to do with this kit was find a way of attaching it that did not require riveting, which is what you often see with this type of project. So I wanted a really nice design that, you know, you didn't need all those other tools. So what we're going to do is we're going to attach it with our thin wax cotton cord, and to do so, we need to cut 2 lengths of the cotton cord, 12 inches long each. Go ahead, take one of your 12-inch lengths, fold it in half, and push the end through one of the end circles, one of the end loops on your infinity symbol. Okay. Now we're going to do a lark's head knot, which is basically what we're just doing. We folded it in half, we made a loop, and now we're just going to put our ends through that loop and pull tight. There you go. Okay, I'm going to show you that again on the other side. Taking my cord, folding it in half, pushing the end through the loop, and I am trying to kind of squish that together just so that it's a little bit of a narrower profile to get through this loop. because it is a tight fit. And what you might need to do is, if you are having any difficulties, just pull the end with your chain nose pliers. There we go. So again, the lark's head, so we made a loop. We've got our tails, putting our tails through the loop, and we're gonna pull. And it's a little sticky because this is waxed cotton cord. All right, so we're halfway there, but we now need to affix this to our faux leather. Now I'm going to show you something, because the first time I made this kit, I made a mistake. I just went like this and like that, and I trimmed my ends and I put my little cord ends on it, and then my bracelet wouldn't bend, because if you'll notice, when it's bent like this, it's all smooth. But when you unclasp it and you lay it flat, look what happens. It has a little bit of a wiggle to it. Well, what we're most concerned with is what it looks like on your wrist. So we do want that nice, flat, even look, which means we're going to have to cut a little bit of extra for our waxed cotton cord in terms of the length here. So I can't just trim it to be even. So to start, find the midway point on your bracelet. So we were 6 3/4 inches. So we're going to be about 3, not quite 3 1/2, kind of that in between 3 3/8. So where I want to line up my infinity symbol. Now go ahead, take your tape again, and I'm just going to tape the infinity symbol in place, just so I know where I want it to sit. So now let's secure this to our cord. To do so, another 12 inches. Everything seems to be 12 inches in this kit. And we are going to make a sliding knot. To do that, hold your waxed cotton cord flat against your faux leather cord. Take your new cut piece of cord, line it up against the 2 existing ones, create a little loop. Now, start wrapping it around. So at first I went over. Now I'm going to go to the back. And I'm just going to walk it up. So I'm not pulling super tight. I'm just wanting my wraps to be nice and even. And I want about 5 of them. I've got 5 in the front. And now I'm going to take my end, put it through my loop, and holding those in place, I'm going to pull. See what's happening is I'm pulling my loop down and under. And now I'm going to pull the other one. Again, not too tight. There we go. Okay, before I trim that, I'm going to go do the other side. Now you could also do it reverse, where you're doing this wrapping on the back side, and then you won't see this little cut through. Totally up to you. I find it actually a lot easier to do it facing me and in relation to where my lark's head knot is, but it's up to you. And I actually kind of like that you see a little bit of the wrappings happening. So I'm going to repeat that step on the other side so that you can see it. This is the most difficult part of this whole bracelet. And you have enough of the waxed cotton cord that if you mess up, you can definitely just start again. Again, laying these guys flat. Taking my new cut piece of cord, lining it up against them, making a loop. Doesn't have to be a big loop. Then swinging this piece around the front, so it goes over all my cords. And I'm going to do 5 wraps. Again, they're not overlapping. Put that end through your loop. And then when you start pulling, I suggest you lay this flat so you can hold on to it, and you see how that loop is now being pulled under. You want to keep all the tension pretty even. And then once you really start getting going, there you can pull it all the way. Just don't pull it too tight. So, got this so far. I'm going to have you still wait to trim. So what we need to do now is we need to cut our ends, but we need to cut them on a bend. And that is where it gets a little tricky. Sorry, I know you've got extra little ends you're looking at. So find the 2 ends on each side that are attached to the infinity symbol. All right, so we've got that secure. I'm gonna wait though for a minute to fully trim these and put a little glue under the knots, but in the meantime, I wanna use my ribbon pinch crimp ends. And remember, we have to allow a little bit of extra, so it's gonna curve and be flat in the curve. To do that, let's grab our ruler back. Go ahead and cut, it's not quite 1/4 of an inch. It's gonna be more like 1/8 of an inch, between 1/8 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch. So about like that. See what I've got here? Line it up on the ruler. So yeah, a little under 1/4 of an inch. We're gonna do that on both sides. Now, to attach your ribbon crimp ends, go ahead and line these ends that you just cut up with the edge of your faux leather cord in the middle. Take your ribbon crimp end, hold it between your pliers. These are your chain nose pliers. And put that over the end. You can see how that's sandwiched in there. And just compress along the entire length of it. And you see, we do have a little bit of extra space there. So now we're going to do that on the other side as well. Make sure you're using the right ends. Again, line it up. Grab that ribbon pinch crimp end. There you go. Compress. You notice these have a little bit of teeth. It kind of grabs the cord, so it's not going to go anywhere. And now look when we bend it. Bend smooth and flat, even though when it's laid out, there is a little bit of a gap. So now it's time to go ahead and secure our knots and trim our ends. To do so, put a little bit of glue on a little scrap piece of paper. Grab a little bit. Now, take one of the cord ends that's sticking out from your knot, pull it back, and carefully insert some glue to right where that knot is. Do the other side as well. So you're just pulling it back to expose a little spot where you can put some glue in. Once that's done, go ahead and pull your cords a little tighter so they squeeze into the glue. And this is your point where you can do any adjusting that you want to do. We're going to do the same on the other side. Pull your knot. Okay, do any adjusting. Make sure your infinity symbol is centered. So I'm going to trim these right now, and I'm going to be really careful with my bracelet while I finish this video, but I would suggest letting the glue dry for at least 20 minutes before you do what I'm going to do, which is just trim these ends. Okay, I'm just going to pull that knot kind of over my ends. So now, to put your bracelet together after we remove this tape, I'm going to go ahead and grab those braids that we already made. I'm going to take our jump rings and our tube clasp and our 2 pairs of chain nose pliers. I'm going to open up the jump ring like so. And we're going to put one end of the braid onto the tube clasp and close the jump ring. I'm going to open a second jump ring, and if you're not familiar with how to open jump rings, there's a little slit at the top here, or at the place that I positioned up top. I'm going to grab it on the right side, I'm going to grab it on the left side of that little slit and twist. Now I'm going to take my other end of my braid, put it on the other end of my clasp in the same hole position, close it. I'm going to do that again. The second braid that I made, and I'm paying attention that the nice clean sides are facing what I am calling out. You want to match those up. Close the jump ring and do it again. Feel free to add little extra bits of glue wherever you want. If you want to put it in the cord ends, you know, you have a whole tube of E6000 you're getting with this kit, so you can definitely, you know, use more glue if you want. Okay, so now I just need the middle one. You guessed it, just with jump rings. Again, I want to pay attention so that all the, what I consider the outsides are facing out. And close that jump ring, and we have a finished bracelet. So you see all the ends in the front. So that infinity symbol in the middle, this is what it's going to look like. And then we have another color variation, which is black with this kind of antique silvery pewter color, and then gunmetal on the backside for all the different findings. And this here is the Multi-Strand Infinity Bracelet, which is an exclusive Beadaholique kit. You can find it on Beadaholique.com along with a bunch of other exclusive kits and jewelry supplies.